I want to quickly talk about hazing and being a targeted individual, much less different forms of targeting. One of it is social targeting, being disgraced due to what they want to diagnose themselves as disabilities, later on turned into mental disabilities that was diagnosable after the effects of what went on. Much less I could agree to a certain extent of disabilities for the fact of the things prior that went on, which would be other acts that would not just humiliate but socially completely lifely destroy me. And with that being said, I do believe I was a target because of something I did as a child. There's multitudes of different things, but one of the incidences, or part of the incidences, is exposing something of the family way back in 1993 that made me 10 or 11 years old. Um, Anyhow, then being disgraced by the family, I was never really wanted anyhow. And there was always some type of social science, what I feel, workings in the family, which would be correct to understand mental illness and a person with it. But mine was different. I've talked to psychiatrists and psychologists, and mine was still different. My life there was obliterated due to like segregating, favoritism, and a parent's allowed to have favoritism, people's allowed to have favoritism, but it was in a bad manner. It wasn't just normal. The intent to emotionally distress me, intent to basically, hey, you might be blood, but we're both human, and I gotta do what I gotta do to make myself feel better, or to be okay and right. I can't understand, it being fair that one person doesn't have the abilities as the other, and one utilizing that, their skill sets and everything else for the beneficial of their life, and it being fair that way, even though that person may have a little bit more in life, a little more enjoyment, look like they're enjoying life, and not to affect that part. But that's not the whole point of what their points were. I was a guinea pig and a target. Anyhow, things for the hazing, I'm gonna leave a lot of different things out until one of the main factors that has carried on for 20 years. And it was a hazing that happened here in Columbus, Ohio. At the time, I was like 17 years old. Um, so we was visiting his family, my grandfather, in a house that he basically bought in the west side bottoms of Columbus, which back then was supposedly a bad neighborhood. And that's a whole nother situation too. The social workings of what they've done is build a social group to target with, basically like gang stalking, but some of the gang stalking is literally gang members. So it has like a mixture of complexity there. And them recruiting as many people as they can to create distress, to sabotage emotionally, to socially sabotage, to not just disgrace life, but destroy it. You are nothing, you're worthless, you're nothing. It's not even you need to go get help, we are destroying you. You did us wrong, you made a mistake, and now you can pay for it. There is mafia ties in the neighborhood, mafia situations I won't get into, but some of that is also tied. That's why I say my situation's complex for me to explain to a certain point until I get it. I'm going to get it down to where I can explain it, probably redo a whole lot of videos, and realize myself I didn't explain things correctly, gratefully, or some of the things I view, and I understand that as being lawful or unlawful, as lawful conduct to certain extents. Or my victimization and complaint and me being stigmatized or emotionally distressed because of the victimization basically expired. You're dealing with things 20 years ago. But that's not the situation in this situation. 20 years ago, I went under a nasty hazing with all that social networking. What it says here is hazing refers to any activity expected of someone joining a group or maintain full status in a group that humiliates, degrades, or risks emotional and physical harm, regardless of the person's willingness to participate. Hazing activities are generally considered to be subtle, harassing, and violent, while the group that was dealing with it was trying to brush it off of you better accept it or it'd get worse, and it did. The hazing was within sexual acts, individuals challenging uh, me being a minor, much less also trying to be an adult, participating with someone else arranging the targeting. But on top, there's also people that was also taking advantage of whatever they could target, such as family values, me being a minor, and they utilizing my house for their hazing intentional. It wasn't just an act that they was performing. I would have agreed that, hey, it was just an act that was not rightfully done, could have been better handled, but then it led into the evidential basic facts of them intentionally targeting me emotionally and socially, because it wasn't just something done in front of my face. They spread it out all over the neighborhood. It became a neighborhood situation, and there's other acts on top of that that happened all in the same time frame. So they all was together doing different acts that was completely obliterating. Per se, a family best friend screwing your mom. The situation that I was going to get into, first of all, I can't remember, I'll put it together later, which came first. I do believe the first act was the individual, I won't say a family friend, a neighborhood acquaintance known as John Boy. He utilized a fake, it's not a fake name, his name was John, but he just used John Boy as his, like, little slang name. And technically, utilizing that, my older brother has a nickname Jake, but that's not legally his real name. And technically what they was doing was attacking that, anything that they could attack me with. Me and my older brother wasn't getting along. There is a lot of different distress about power, value, social life, being disgraced, being put down, humiliated, and all that. Normal, what I say with normal stuff. They intentionally exerted the hazing to the maximum power. One, orchestrating basically like I'm still in your girlfriend, your future wife, or what would have been, but now she doesn't want you. I'm gonna fuck you in front and screwed her. Excuse the language. That's very harsh, but that's how harsh they was pitting it. Fuck her in your house in front of you. On top, take advantage of a situation of your family because your family allowed stuff and certain situations that happened in their house, disgracing your family that I utilized while your family was gone, and you let me utilize your family house and utilize it for our neighborhood value to run our mouths, which I won't say my family wasn't running their mouths per se, without defense, but either way, intentionally attacking. But the female individual was also basically associated with Colorado Springs and a bigger targeting situation rather just than the community itself. Connections with that, basically trying to be a prize coming from somebody that has power and either be mob boss, I'm not going to put it like that, but something to the effect. Maybe a military general, maybe just somebody of power, or communally that has a business owner that has a lot of stout in the community that could give, basically respect values. And utilizing that, your prize has been taken. On top, relationship wise, them integrating that they know me, and basically they've been taken. And then going into the bedroom, doing the sexual activity while they was disgracing not only an incident that happened from 1998 year prior with my sexual activities in the bedroom, as if they're challenging me of sexual activities, not in a bad way, but basically, you know, we need more of a man than what you are. You don't have the right size groin area type of situation. And pitting me down with the insults that I've already struggled with anyhow. and intentionally screaming and yelling out how much great and how good it is and and calling out my either calling out my name, saying shit underneath both of their breath, both of them talking, disgracing me. He's a fucking nutcase. Who gives a shit? Let's do this. Let's, basically I started and I was intoxicated a little bit back then, even though I was 17, sitting here having to put up with the shit, and then them making it out, don't tell nobody, basically in the different types of tones of insinuation. It wasn't completely, some of it wasn't completely verbalated, but yeah, whatever. Basically disgraced. You fucking bitch. You're a pussy. You won't stand up to fight for your prize. The other dude was fucking 10, at least 10 years older than me. Utilizing, muscle enhancers, what I do believe. If not, shit, enough. He had enough free time for himself to work out and do his thing when I didn't. On top of, he didn't have as much duress in his life as I did. So the hazing from that, multitudes of different hazings, that's one major thing. And the reason why I mentioned this story and what hazing is, what one of the hazing parts about my life is, it's followed me for 20 years. The same individuals, that respect value, you're still nothing but be called a coward, a pussy, won't stand your grounds, and lost your prize. And not even lost a prize, lost your life. You can't handle this when you don't deserve one at all. Anyways, not only, like I said, is it local though, and the people that was involved locally. One of the gentlemen, John Boy, there was local, is from the community, and might have family values, or I won't say might, had his family values running with what my grandfather was sticking around with family values. So that's a whole situation in itself of dressing factors that were being discriminated as a family, then myself directly, then on top interstate stalking is the way I put it, interstate following me around the United States and exerting this power into the community. And that's without fight of the prize being there as a prize, if you want to pit it that way. It's bad to pit it that way because you shouldn't call your girlfriend or maybe even a future wife or any type of relationship status, much less them also, like I said, destroying the ability to build a relationship with anybody else, utilizing their neighborhood respect values, much less, like I said, the other female individual, like her daddy's some type of informant for maybe CIA or government that has stout and power that way, on top of all kinds of other government related shit, where I had an ID that was given by the military. They messed up on the age, and then they come back after me for not changing it back. There's more to it in depth, and I won't take that there's no blame or fault, but it's basically like treasonous acts. I'm not sure exactly what you do, fraud and treasonous acts, but it was done on a military facility base, and them utilizing my ID to attack me any which way that they can, utilizing it for social value. Somebody from the military intentionally assaulting, attacking whatever they can. I'll destroy you over an errorist or an intentional ID mishap. That's government disgrace of what you did, and you deserve to have whatever done to you. Utter, completely life destruction. Like as if I blew a fucking building up, much less I had a freaking ID that only had an age difference of 1 year. It still carries out. I've never changed my ID back. I have state IDs. I've lived 20 years, a year older than what I am. And they still harass to this day with military authority or basing their stuff. Who pit us up to this is from military status. Anyways, that whole situation, part of the hazing in that, there's multitudes of things that happened that year. Supposed neo-Nazis local in Columbus here, which was later when I configure everything, think about it, put it together, and the evidence base behind it was another intentional sabotage and assault. Literally, almost physical assault, complete victimization of being jumped massively by a mass group. It brought 30 some cops together and a helicopter, put it that way. Police work being corrupted. They didn't produce the correct paperwork for me to ever represent that. A brush off. Haha, petty ass stuff, right? We don't need to do paperwork. It's just a jumping, a little bit of paperwork, but nothing victimization for yourself to keep on record to ever say that this group is jumping you, which they're still trying to insinuate and basically still socially jump me here in Columbus, much less utilizing the other person's authorities, other type of loopholes, and other government agencies and other respectable people with stout saying, hey, we're going to travel and fuck with him. Anyways, and broke me. I ain't had a life. Even a psychiatrist 8 years ago done said life was obliterated, and that was 8 years ago. Pitting that out for those who are saying we're dealing with you, we know you, they would have done everything completely different. Anyhow, with hazing, that that one incident, those two incidences, and then my best friend screwing around with my mom, I do believe was after the first sexual encounter incident, as if it's a challengement, like they're regaining the respect of the house, the family, or something. I don't know how to put it. Sounds kind of crazy. But hey, they committed these acts in this bedroom, we'll commit acts in this bedroom, and we'll get shit on. But no matter what, all the acts performed was nothing but emotionally, completely socially, mentally, psychologically assaultive towards myself. You ain't nothing but a pussy. My mom went back to Colorado when we were in Colorado. Matter of fact, it was even a year later. And I was in an apartment with my older brother having problems then. He's also another perpetrator of all the bad stuff going on. And she calls me, you ain't nothing but a fucking pussy, a coward. You don't stand up just rolling on my shit. I took you on basically threatening that she challenged me like a social life challengement, hazing, or humiliation for social life respect and value. And she gained respect and value in the community for herself by these people who are honorable for stout, who are honorable, you would want respect from. And it still goes on to this day, ha ha, you bitch, and all the rest. That's one major thing that's in the community to this day. It doesn't matter, not only just the community, the interstate stalk. It's mafia tie-ins also, and I don't see why law enforcement hasn't done anything about it. Especially when law enforcement not only hasn't done anything about it, has misconducted their work and didn't do the proper work for me to represent my situation, and then to come back and part of their hazing, part of their assault, their psychological and emotional assaults, is you can't represent shit. You don't have paperwork for it, and the legalities before it, of it, even if you don't, because there's people in the community that witnessed it, you still don't have any legal paperwork for it, so it doesn't mean shit. That's the kind of screwed off shit that happens that I have to put up with day to day. I could move, they move with me. Even if not, I don't have the ability to live life in a situation of, I won't say being independent out on my own, but being in a tougher situation. I can't get a job, so that'd make me homeless. Even if I get a check a month from SSI, it's still a struggle. And those struggles means I have to struggle to be like everybody else. No. A lot of people on disability have never been sexually assaulted. And that's something else that completely similarly happened. Someone saying part of the hazing, I didn't recognize it or I allowed it to happen. It wasn't hardcore rape back then. It's sexual advancement and sexual assaults. Calling me a fucking fag. I'm not homosexual. Calling me you look like a fag. Whatever it could be. And it's just words, don't worry about it. Oh, we're a group of people, we're trying to teach you how to live life, what the power and strengths of life are. Anybody and their mom knows that's not correct whatsoever. They did nothing but take advantage of what they sought, seen, and thought they would, and was able to take advantage of. So, I'm still taking the grief. There's still spit. There's still fucking disgracing day to day over the situation of that individual, John Boy, and the chick, which I never got her name, but hey, I've seen her in New York City with them representing shit. She likes calling me Haji, I do believe, or some shit like that, or representing some shit. They're trying to also make out that I sexually assaulted her. And there is an incident that kind of happened, but she was willing to go with it at first. And then John Boy, with like the prize fighting rights, he was out of the room, and at which point, hey, I'll fight you for that. Your friends don't fight you, even though I will say it's a mixed up situation, but it was offered up. She says, whoever, whoever, but then again, it wasn't really at that point. It was intentionally her being here on the behalf of herself, representing some type of other social respect. Either mafia, her father, and the government trying to show fucking slander towards the family of United States or per se social values, community values, but it happened to deal with fucking militarized shit. And this is what you get for basically a fake ID. It's a real ID, but your age is wrong, so that's what you get. I'll tear and have torn your life up day to day. This sucks. Very devastating because it's not only affected, it wasn't just one incident, ruining relationships, my ability to have relationships, the power of meeting other people, and not in a sexual way. Even that'll be the next, but even friendship. He's just a pussy. He'll never stand to fight for you. Always doing anything they can to create a hardship to where I can't gain any friends. You don't talk to nobody. And then later on, I mean, it got to the point I've been raped, robbed, and stabbed multitudes of times. Which you can watch my videos later on and figure out what I'm talking about there. Go through and look at rape talk or raped talks and stuff like that. But these guys are now, it wasn't just for humiliation now. It went back and it is progressing to worser extremes. Just like a psychiatrist said. So it's not just, a disciplinary incident, a single occurring incident. It's massive, devastating, intentional, and law enforcement needs to get involved with it. But I can't trust them because of the corruption that happened with them. Much less, hey, who says if the daughter that was sitting there really isn't just government, is, say, not making it out it is, but like a police chief's daughter, the lieutenant, something like that. Something that has power and respect, especially with authority, and then trying to go in and tell him about his daughter and the disrespect she's doing against myself. And what has happened is a whole, what I came across, which is bad to say, a blue gang bitch, which is cops are no different than gangbangers, gangsterly, corruptly acting to a point, covering each other's ass, or taking effect even though the incident didn't happen to them, but one of their brothers, family members, it doesn't matter, you don't talk about us or else type of situation. I'm done. There's so much complexity to the situation, but this is the hazing part of it, and that is the sexual activities. You start looking into hazing, the definitions in different terms, and you'll find the sexual activities, but this was the humiliation part. It was even worse than that. Psychiatrist says it's worse than hazing, for sure. And I mean it, very damn serious, in-depth, deep, too deep, so deep to deal with. And that's what they wanted. So, the fuck ass in the government, whoever, his daughter, and the other dickhead that was here, hey, wow, 20 years later, aren't we going to challenge each other? The family values, prize winning, emotional drama setting, neighborhood, respect and authority. Neighborhood, who gets what respect, values, not just entertainment, but how do I put, like psychiatrists did? Not just for entertainment, power control, and power control freaks is what it is. I'm done. Here's the regards that I have to it too. Why did I put up with it? Look at this. Regardless of the person's willingness to participate, forced it upon me. and then trying to manipulate, we'll fight it back. We can take you on. You're nothing but a nutcase, a psychological, or vulnerable. No matter what, we did what we did and got away with it, hurt you and did whatever. And in the vulnerabilities, no matter if you stand up, we just knock you the fuck back down. While we also know it de-strengthenalized you majorly to even be able to stand up to fight. Maybe one round not fight, my next fight, round two, I would have been able to, would comprehensive maybe have strength. No, it completely wasted me. Devastation. Intentional devastation. While their group, social class group of people now, day to day socially around Columbus, it's massive complexity. On top of me being completely destroyed, so now being destroyed, public views, defacing, disgracing, and hey, nobody wants to be friends with somebody that has so many problems, much less on top of somebody possibly creating them a problem. Abnormally, from the normal, somebody may create somebody a problem for being a friend with somebody that's disliked. It's just too complex. Very lively, devastating. Much less devastating with my groin area being fucking defamated against. And hey, you accepted you ain't ever gonna have shit in life. I'm done.